September Labor Day weekend, and we're off on another short 3 or 4 day camping trip to a small members-only campground just north of us in Steele, Alabama. The campground is called Bluff Creek Falls, and it's located just north of Interstate 59 in Steele, Alabama. The route consists mostly of state highway and county roads, all of which are easily traveled. Here's a map showing the route that we took to Bluff Creek Falls in Steele, Alabama. As you can see, it's only just a little over an hour's drive. On the route up, we passed through a small town called Asheville, which is the county seat for St. Clair County. It's just a small town, a throwback into time, kind of a Mayberry look. So on the route there was a little confusion between the navigator and the pilot, but we got all that corrected and got on the route where we were supposed to turn and headed on to the campground. Speaking of a throwback into time, this is one of the reasons I like traveling in these smaller country and state highways. The website for Bluff Creek talks about a hairpin turn on the route up to the mountain, and this is it, but we found out that it wasn't as bad as what the website had indicated. It's fairly easy, a lot of asphalt to make the turn here, regardless of what size trailer you're pulling. So we go on a little further on this mountain country road, I forget the name of it, and you begin to see the mountain where the campground is located. So this mountain is called Chandler Mountain, and its average elevation is approximately 1,489 feet above sea level. The road becomes more windy as we increase elevation going up the mountain, but it's a pleasant drive and the scenery is nice to look at. We pass a lot of tomato fields up here on the way to the campground on the mountain, and this is the tomato processing factory, I guess you could call it. After they're picked, they're brought here and packed to be shipped off to market. So just past the tomato packing plant, you turn onto a smaller county road 42. You see the tomato farm sign there, and this is a smaller road that continues on up to the campground. Still a decent road to travel. Passed by a lot of cornfields and tomato fields here. And you take another little turn here to the right, or to the left, I'm sorry. And more cornfields. Here's one of those tomato fields, both on the left and the right. It's being actively picked now by some Latinos. And then just past the tomato field, there's the turn in to Bluff Creek Falls. When you get close to the campground, they advise you to call ahead to let someone know that you're arriving so they can come up and open the gate for you. The main office is right inside the gate, and this is where you check in and pay for your stay and register, get your membership fee. After checking in, a couple of guys led us on the golf cart to our site, and we'll take a quick drive around the loop here. Later on in the video, I'll show you an overhead view of the campground and where everything is located. So this basically just makes one big loop around the top of the hill here on the mountain. You go off to the right. And most of these sites here on the left and on the right are permanent sites. There are some low-hanging limbs you might want to be aware of if you've got an extra tall rig. Ours is like 10'6", and it brushed them, but there's no big limbs that are causing any damage or anything. It's just little branches with leaves. Off to the left here is the small road which leads up to some temporary sites, and on the right there's more permanent. One thing you need to know about this campground, that limited temporary sites that they do have, there is no sewer, just water and electric 30 amp. They do have a dump station, but there's some issues there where you can't actually drive your camper to the dump station, so it's going to require a tote if you stay here. Otherwise you're going to have to carry your waste out to a dump station at the Loves on 59. So we continue around the loop here, and there's some cabins off to the right hand side for rent, and then on the left again are some temporary sites. Pretty much everything that's on the right is permanent. There's a little cabin there that you can rent. Those are permanent sites. And then everything on the left here is temporary sites. Again, there's no sewer at any of these sites. 30 amp electric and water. Also, cell service is limited. We only had about one bar our whole stay. So here's the site where we're going to be at. It's relatively level from forward and back, but from the wood line to the road, it's a good incline down. You'll see in our setup here. So here we are with our rig set up. It's hard to tell here, but the front end is a good bit up in the air. We settled in for the evening, got some burgers on the grill, and just started relaxing, drinking a beer. Oops, I almost picked up a bottle of cigarette butts to drink. So we continued our grilling and just relaxing for the rest of the evening. Scooter's intent on about what's going on at the grill, and Maggie's just seeing who's around. So while we're getting the grilling done, let me show you an overview map of the campground with some pictures of where everything is located. As we mentioned, this is the entrance where the check-in shed and office is. As you go around the loop here, you're going to see some permanent cabins for rent. And then this is some of the temporary sites that are available. Again, no sewer, just water and electric. This is around the curve to around the site where we were. There's some more temporary sites here. This building here, permanent residence, I guess is what you call the local watering hole and gathering spot for the majority of the campground. So just drink and have a good time, fellowship. Here is a place, I think it's called Dick's Den or Dick's Deck, where there's a pool table and they have karaoke and dance parties up here at night. And then this is the cantina and fire pit area. They have some pretty good food there at reasonable prices. And then on weekends, nightly, they have a big bonfire. And then this is the swimming pool area with a deck. It's an above ground pool, but it's pretty nice. They keep it up nice and clean. People hang out here during the day and suntan. And then this area is the bath and shower house area, where they also have a outdoor sauna and a barrel hot tub. Bluff Creek Falls, which is about an hour excursion into the woods, which is a trip that I didn't make. But there is a few trails right along the edge of the campground. This is one of them. It's just like maybe 10-20 yards off the main campground road, and it leads you back into the cliff area that goes off into the gorge, and it's pretty steep descent down into the gorge. I didn't take the dogs on any of these hikes, so it was just myself went on these hikes down the gorge because it was kind of dangerous. But here we are standing on the edge of this rock looking down into the gorge, and then I'll descend down into here and we'll show you some video of the stream down there and some little mini waterfalls, even though I didn't get to see the big Bluff Creek waterfall. So as we close out this video on Bluff Creek Campground, I want to show you a few more still shots of the hike I took down into that gorge where the little creek was. It's very relaxing and very calming down in that gorge, quiet, peaceful. We didn't take the dogs on this hike because it was too dangerous, and I would recommend that you have good hiking shoes if you go on this hike. We did and were able to take the dogs on the hike around the campground. They have lots of fruit trees, peaches, apples, pear trees. Here's Maggie with a bunch of apples. A lot of cedar trees. It's a really nice campground to walk around. There's a cabin back in the woods for rent. And then there's this big, there's another picture of that cabin. There's this big, beautiful cedar tree in the middle of the campground down by the pool area and the bathhouse. I just love to see it decorated up for Christmas. It's a beautiful tree. There are several roads leading back into the woods in the campground that have other permanent sites on them that we were able to take the dogs on a hike on. So the campground itself is rustic, but it's nice. The people are very friendly. Would we go back? Yes. Cell service is non-existent, only water and electric, and as we mentioned, the sewer is non-existent basically. This is the only dump station, and you need a tote to use it. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channels, and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, happy camping.